Hey folks, this is Kalani. We finally have an update for the Shadowlands expansion and its testing period. A blue post with lots of information went up earlier today and started with an amazing sentence for anyone looking forward to Shadowlands. Later this week we will send out our first round of invitations to a closed alpha test for Shadowlands. It's finally happening. It's finally here. Well, I mean, more or less. Later this week could be today, it could be tomorrow, or it could be Friday. That would make for a very sad Kalani to be sure, but at least we know that by the time the weekend arrives, we should be able to get a closer look at how the next expansion is shaping up. And even if we don't get into the alpha itself, I'm sure Wowhead will keep our hunger for information well satiated as soon as they can data mine all of the things. This week is going to be amazing. Now, don't get your hopes up too high. This is the very first build we have access to for the alpha. It's not going to have all of the quests and storylines completed, it won't have any of the raid encounters, quite a good chunk of it will still be in development, and we have a long way to go before the beta or even the release of this expansion proper. So temper your expectations at least a little bit. With that being said, from the information that we have in the dev post, it looks like we're going to have quite a bit of content to actually poke at, certainly more than I would have expected for our first look at the alpha, so maybe the wait is going to be worth it after all. We'll probably only have access to one zone right from the get-go, not too surprising, but apparently the entire leveling experience for the Bastion zone will be available for play. So even though we won't get to see the main city hub of Oribos or the 4 other zones that make up the Shadowlands explorable areas, the zone that we will get to see is going to be fleshed out quite a bit by the sounds of things. It might still have some art assets incomplete or some of the smaller side storylines not fully implemented, but if the full level up experience is available, we should get a good idea of how the story in this zone unfolds and how we progress through it. There will no doubt be links to the Covenant system here as well. If you remember from BlizzCon, each leveling zone for the expansion will be controlled by a Covenant. There's 4 total, and the Covenants will provide you with extra spells and abilities and other forms of character progression, and you can only follow one of them at a time, so it's going to be an important choice to make. As you level up through the zones in a very specific order, you can try out each Covenant as you go, and you'll make your final decision at max level. But with the Bastion zone available for play, we should get to see how working with the Kyrians feel and how their abilities play out. I am super excited for that. There is also a dungeon tied to each zone from what I remember, and the dev post also said the Bastion dungeon, the Necrotic Wake, will be available for testing as well. So not only do we get to see an entire zone's leveling arc, but we get to poke around one of the dungeons for Shadowlands as well. That's pretty awesome. That's not the only new content we'll have access to though. For anyone familiar with the leveling revamp next expansion, you should remember that pretty much everything is changing for the entire leveling experience. Not only will our levels be squished down to 50 and we'll work our way up to level 60 as the max level in Shadowlands, but leveling from 1 to 50 can be done in any expansion that we want. To make that choice less confusing for any new players to the game, a brand new starting zone called Exile's Reach will be set up to help ease new players into the World of Warcraft experience. That new zone will also be available for testing and play on the Alliance side, so you can check out the new quests and storyline in there and see just how they plan on introducing all of the different WoW systems to newer players. One of the most exciting little nuggets of info that we got from the post talks about class changes and how players of all 12 classes will immediately see changes in their spellbooks, their talents, and in some cases even their resources. Class changes are some of the most anticipated bits of information right now. Battle for Azeroth didn't really leave everyone in a great spot, especially when you start prying away the various systems that prop up class design right now. We have Azerite traits, we have Heart of Azeroth essence licenses, and now we have the corruption effects as well. Take all of that away, and some classes don't feel that great to play. So looking at how Shadowlands will change each class is going to be very important. We know that the dev team has opened up the floodgates really for the great unpruning, to the point where they're apparently more worried about did we give you too much stuff back rather than what spells do you miss. We might very well log into the alpha to see some very fat spellbooks indeed. Talent changes are always an interesting topic to look over, so I'm excited to see what's changed there, but some classes will also see changes to their resources. I don't remember hearing anything about that at BlizzCon, so keep an eye on alpha testers and data mining stuff to see who no longer uses mana, or maybe who will go back to using mana. There is also some information about an updated quest interface that they're testing out. They want to emphasize major quest lines that advance the narrative and make it easier to distinguish them from the smaller side quests that are a bit more optional. There's also a new 3D indicator for tracked quest objective locations to help you better see whether an objective or object is above or below you, and they want to reduce the need to open up the map to navigate your way around the world. That's kind of interesting. Maybe we'll see more information on the minimap to help us get around a bit better. There's also one other addition to the map that's going to be amazing though. The dev team has introduced a new system that allows you to place a personal waypoint on the map and share it with other players. So if you need help at a specific location, instead of calling out your current coordinates and hoping everyone else can make sense of them with an add-on or whatever else, you can literally just send them a ping of a location on the map. That's going to be very useful for grouping up for rares, treasures, difficult quests, members of the opposite faction gathering up or camping areas, and tricking your friends and guildies into wandering off into useless places. I'm looking forward to see how this looks in the actual game. And perhaps some of the most well-received news that we have from this update, Shadowlands will in fact be reintroducing PvP vendors. Conquest will become a currency that you can spend once again, and you'll be able to buy the gear you want from actual vendors in the major hub city of Oribos. They also plan to have Conquest be used as an upgrade currency for your PvP gear as well. They compared it to Mana Pearls and Benthic gear in the post, so it looks like gearing up in PvP is going to change quite drastically for the Shadowlands expansion and just be a lot more intuitive. And it sounds like they're putting the entire progression path choices and pretty much everything else for PvP gearing back into the hands of the players, so you can choose what you want instead of just working towards whatever reward comes next. Expect to see more information about this later on when we learn a bit more about gear and itemization in general for the next expansion. Now that's all of the big pieces that we can expect to see in the first glimpse of the alpha, but the dev post did mention that we will see the alpha grow with every update. It sounds like we won't have to wait very long for the next big chunk of content either. They hope to have both the Revendreth Zone and the Tower of the Damned feature available for testing sometime in April, so we don't even have to wait over a month for this stuff, which will give us an entire new zone, possibly another dungeon to go along with it, and one of the most important features in the entire expansion, Torghast, the Tower of the Damned. That's the endless dungeon experience, which will probably require the most testing out of any feature that we've ever seen in World of Warcraft, so I'm super happy that they plan to have it up kind of early in the alpha testing period. Even though we'll have to wait for a good chunk of the expansion to become available for testing, I kind of can't believe how much we'll actually be able to test right from the get-go here. Between footage from alpha testers and the huge influx of data mined information, we're going to have a pretty good look at how Shadowlands is shaping up in this coming week. If you're interested in testing out the alpha and giving feedback on the major systems of the next expansion to help shape it into the best expansion it could be, the only way to get into the alpha is to opt in. I'll give you a link in the comment section below for the opt-in site so you can make sure your account is in the bucket for the dev team to draw from when they send out alpha and beta invites. If you don't opt in, there's no chance you'll get alpha. It's as simple as that. Oh, I can't wait to spam refresh my Battle.net launcher to see if we get into the alpha. The Shadowlands expansion sounds amazing from what we've heard so far, so I'm super excited to get some hands-on experience one of these days, or weeks, or months, please not months. But that's it for this video. What are you most excited about to see from the Shadowlands Alpha or the Wowhead data mining? Have you already chosen your covenant, or will you wait and see what abilities you get from them first? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.